Hello and welcome back to another great season of happenings in the Dearborn Public Schools. I'm David Mustonen, Director of Communications. I guess we must have did okay last year in the ratings because we are back this year for one more year of great topics, great conversation about all the great things taking place in the Dearborn Public Schools. In fact, I know we are doing well across the country, even reaching international borders. I found out this summer that we're very popular in Canada. At least I'm very popular in one family in Canada. So that's as far as that goes. But of course, always joining us here on the set, our superintendent, Dr. Maleyko. How are you?
Doing very well. So glad to be here with the season kickoff here
Absolutely.
For happenings. Thank you.
Great. Two great special guests joining us here today. Board trustees, Mariam, Bazzi.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you.
And Fadwa, Hammoud, another board trustee. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
Great. Of course, we like to start off our shows with the really hard-hitting topics, getting right to the meat and core of everything that we like to talk about. So, how was your summer vacation?
It's still the summer
It's still
vacation.
going on. That's right.
Can't end yet.
That's right. We still have a few weeks left and we want to enjoy those. But hopefully you guys have been having a little bit of time away. And
It's been great. I mean, the weather's been nice. No one can complain about the summer. I mean, it's been beautiful spending time with the kids. So it's been good. I'm glad we have 2 more weeks, though. Don't make it end so quickly.
No, not at all. Considering when you walk into Target and the back-to-school stuff starts about July 6th, I agree with you. We have to try to stretch this out as long as possible.
Sam was in denial about purchasing back-to-school stuff, so I'm the person there on the weekend before school starts, picking up the scrappings of what's been, left over.
That's good.
My children have been talking about it for a long time, so they're getting ready. So they're on the opposite end. But yes, vacation.
You guys got away a little bit.
We did. I mentioned, I think, on the last show that we were going to get away to Traverse City, 20th year anniversary, my wife and I. So it was real. We had a great time and really enjoyed the area there. And so my wife was like, it was actually tough getting her to have just us go without the children. So we had to bring the children back. So a month later, we actually camped up in Traverse City and we had a blast. And my son and my daughter, they really enjoyed it. So we are going to go back next year, but we also learned that we have to book it well in advance because it does book up. So it was a good summer. Yeah.
Great. Excellent. See, here's the difference. When your kids are young, they want to go on vacation with you. When your kids get my age, we have to drag them on vacation with us. Really, you really do want to come with us. So that's good. Well, good. But we do have some time before we get back. So of course we want everybody to enjoy the time that's left in the summer and not rush things, as you pointed out. We do have you here today, our 2 board trustees, because not only are you board trustees and serve on the Board of Education, you are parents of children in our schools, in the district, and more importantly, you bring a very unique perspective to the topic today because of your background as attorneys. And today we want to talk a little bit about internet safety and being on the internet and social media. It's obviously it's all around us. It's become not just part of our life, but almost it is infused in our lives from very early on to senior citizens. And so it's a very big part of what we do and how we interact and how we communicate. But like all things, we need to be safe in doing that. So thank you for being here to kind of touch on this topic and talk about this a little bit with us today.
You're absolutely right in terms of being infused in our children at such an early age. I mean, I have a 2-year-old that literally knows how to get on YouTube now. And it's scary. It's scary that with just their little fingers, they can access a world of sometimes good material and a lot of times bad material. And that is kind of, one part of what brings us here today.
Yeah, I mean, I have a 7-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 12-year-old. So it's always a constant struggle, and it's a learning process. I mean, when I was in school, the internet really didn't exist. It was at its infancy as I was going on to college. And so I think that it's really important for parents and students to really understand the risks associated with the internet. We talk about it a lot, and I think there is some discussion in the news and the media, but the problem is we always think our kid isn't going to do that, or our kid isn't going to see that. And so I think until it happens to us individually, or until our kids access something, we find out that our kids access something that they shouldn't have accessed, it's kind of not our problem. And I think we really need to wake up, because kids are losing their innocence so much quicker than we used to, frankly. And so we really need to be aware of it, and we need to really discuss it and be very proactive. So.
And I just add to that, I appreciate you, both of you being here on this very important topic and with your expertise, and obviously as, trustees of the Board of Education. As you know, the last year, I've been really promoting social media, but in a positive. And I think it's a good point that you make, because when it's used for the right reasons, it can be very positive. The message is out there. But when people use it, it could be a danger. It could be a hazard, especially to youth and children. And I know one of the mottos that I have is anything I put out there, I'm basically comfortable with anybody seeing it anywhere in the world, because I know that once it's there, it never comes back. And I think, as their students are posting things or sending things, they've got to be very cautious of what it is they're putting out there, whether it's pictures or words or things that can hurt people, because you can never get that back. It's there. And I know so I'm talking from a standpoint of the youth, which is the students, which is probably the most important part of this topic. But then as students and as they grow into high school age or beyond, they may be looking for a job. And that history, and both of you can maybe speak to that, but I know for us, just in the school system, we do Google searches. So if you want to get a job for Dearborn Public Schools, we are going on social media and checking to see the type of activity individuals have been involved in. And I've actually spoken to students at the Henry Ford College pre-education fairs about that it's really, everybody has a phone, and whatever you do, it can be recorded, so you've got to be really cautious.
It's interesting that you mentioned that, especially point, once something is out there, it's always going to be out there. It's really easy for us to put something out there and say, well, I'm going to take it back down in a second, I'm going to delete it. It's so easy for anyone to take a picture of it, to save it. If you put a video out there, somebody could easily download it. In fact, a lot of the internet sites, or even social media sites like Facebook, a lot of times they have rights to preserve that content. So any content that you do delete, somehow, somewhere, people can get it. And when I say people, sometimes when it's law enforcement, they can go out there, seek a search warrant, retrieve whatever you think is private. Like, oh, I didn't put it on my Facebook wall, but it's in my inbox. Well, people can get that. Law enforcement can get that. Hackers can get that. Anything you put out there, now it's there for everybody to see. And that's why we have to be careful. Like you stated, Glenn, a lot of times when we're looking for jobs, even when students are graduating, they want to apply somewhere. The easiest thing for an employer to do is basically put in their name. And the information is out there. Don't put anything out there that you don't want people to see. And that's what it comes down to. You have to be very, very, very careful.
And even when things aren't necessarily provocative, if you put something online that may be political in nature, that isn't necessarily a bad thing to put on, we have to remember we're living in a world where people may not necessarily agree with our thoughts or opinions, but we don't have to necessarily like each other's ideals and philosophies to work with each other in different settings. And it's interesting because I've actually spoken with interns that I know and friends I know that are pursuing law degrees and other type of higher education degrees. And I've told them, I'm like, you have to be careful what you put out there, because you don't know what somebody may hold against you. It's not necessarily that it's bad to put it out there, but somebody may not agree with it, and you may never know why you didn't get that job. But it could be because you liked maybe a mean-spirited comment on someone else's Facebook page, if we're referring to Facebook, or you just don't know. And so I think we have to be cognizant, not just of the bad things or the maybe provocative or things we know we shouldn't share, but rather even some of the other stuff, some stuff that really isn't necessarily bad or risque, but at the end of the day, you're putting a lot of yourself out there, and someone may hold it against you.
Absolutely.
Your status in the community, depending on your position or your career or what it might be, whatever you put out there, people will look upon that and make a judgment.
Yes.
And if it's something that is not politically correct, or if it's controversial, it could impact whatever your job is, or maybe your school, or your ability to get to entrance into school. So I think, yeah, that's a very important point. And, that's just one aspect of it. Then we talk about with some of our youth in the school, another couple aspects that maybe to touch upon are, as youth do things, or they send pictures, or they send provocative, or things that maybe even, there's legalities too. So when they're sending things that might be provocative in nature, that they could actually get charged through
There are
criminal
definitely legal
proceedings.
consequences.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just for having, a picture on your phone that could be sexual, provocative in
Sexual,
nature.
Yes.
And, and that could eventually subject our students to be on a list for sex offenders. They have to register as actual sex offenders. And this is stuff that's real. It's out there. There are actual criminal consequences for something as simple as sending somebody a photo.
And
Even
I just think too that that's an important point to make, because many times students, young people will do something and they're not bad kids.
Right.
They're not troublemakers, they're not bad kids, but they make a bad decision and they make a bad choice. And one bad choice as a joke to your buddies could end up haunting you for the rest of your life, like as you said, because you end up on a sexual offenders list, because you took one silly picture that you thought would be funny to send to your buddies, and that picture starts spreading around and gets all over, and then before you know it, you're facing some real legal issues with that. And again, it can happen to any kid. We often think, oh, well, my kid won't do that. My kid's a good kid. He wouldn't do that. She wouldn't do that. Well, any adolescent, any child, any kid, any adult can make a stupid decision or make a bad choice at some point in their lives.
It's important to note that even if you're taking a picture of yourself, and I think people don't realize this, but if you're under the age of 16 and you're taking a picture of yourself that's inappropriate, and you're sending it maybe to a friend or someone whoever it is that you want to share with it, you are making child pornography, and you're distributing child pornography, and that they do have very legal consequences to them. And you think, I think people just don't understand, well, it's of me, it's not like I'm taking it of someone else,
Right.
but it's still, the law is very clear on that. And I don't think people do it because they're bad people. I think sometimes they get caught up in the moment and they're not thinking it. But I also have friends who've told me their children have received pictures from friends. And I've said, well, immediately, just the fact of that receipt, you can't have it on your phone. Your child can't have it on their phone. Just the possession of it in and of itself is possession of child pornography. And so you have to, you should, it's it all depends on what it is.
Yeah.
If it's just an image, my personal opinion would be to call the parent if possible, or contact the school, because I think that students, they shouldn't always necessarily get in trouble, but we need to have conversations with these kids and to try to help them understand what they're doing. So if you're not comfortable contacting the parent, contacting, a social worker at the school
Sure,
or the
absolutely.
principal, I think is a really important thing, because you might have saved that child from sending that picture to someone else, and then that having much more dire circumstances.
And we do have good resources in the school with the school youth officers that work directly, that, will consult with us and make sure that we protect the students. So as they go to the school officials, we do have resources that can help. to add to that, can I just add another aspect, which I know we've talked a little bit about in preparing for this. So that's the whole aspect of what the individual does, but there's also individuals out there that are looking as predators, that are looking to put children in harm's way, and that's another, dangerous aspect of the internet. And we were just talking about, as parents, I mean, this is really a message, I think, to the students and the
Yes.
parents, but the parents really have to be aware of where their children are going and browsing. Something simple as having a computer in your bedroom, in the child's bedroom where the parents can't see what is not the best system. Having it somewhere in the open, I've heard even from police, having it in an open area of the house so that it is nothing hidden, and that you do have, and I know there's filters and other things, but, what are your thoughts on those other areas where you do have, people out there, whether it's in the local community or beyond, that are looking as predators?
There's something interesting about when we talk about predators, and they come in all forms. One crime that I want to kind of highlight is identity theft. And I know we'll get to a different aspect of predators when we talk about, children and adults seeking children. But something as simple as identity theft. You have sometimes kids, for example, like I had a cousin, she's in high school, she just got her driver's license, she posted it online. Look what I just got. Well, guess what? There's somebody out there looking for your information. And this is a crime that is now progressing. And predators that are trying to steal your identity, all of a sudden just have free access to all of your information. So when you're putting something out there about yourself, putting pictures aside, if you want to talk about something just as simple as your name, your address, people can take your identity, and that can eventually, and we've seen it in court, it could ruin your life. People will open up homes, they'll open up credit cards in your name, I mean, hopefully it won't get to that point, but I want our students and our parents at the same time to take note of that. When you're posting something, even if it's a report card online, if you're very proud, make sure that your personal information out there is redacted, because there's somebody out there, a predator, that's looking for your identity, that's going to take it. And then you have different kinds of predators, and I'll let Mariam kind of highlight.
Well,
that
before I go
aspect.
on the other thing, it's interesting that Fadwa brings it up, because I've heard of a case where a person actually had stolen a person identity from LinkedIn. I mean, he had his entire profile, the school he went to, he graduated from, his friends. From what I recall from that case, he actually went to a reunion. I mean, and these people are very sophisticated, and so the first thing I did was get on LinkedIn and make sure none of my private information was out there. But I mean, LinkedIn and others, they don't need, your address doesn't need to be on there. Your phone number doesn't have to be public. I mean, we have to really be cognizant of those things, because it's a crime that it's very hard to recover from when someone has your information.
Right.
Going on to the predators, human trafficking is a big issue in Michigan, across the U.S., and across the world. And a lot of the young women and men being trafficked, I mean, it's happening in our neighborhoods, the truth is. It's happening in our state. This is how they get people. This is how, this is a way of recruiting individuals and young people. And it's not always the person whose mom and dad are not home, or it is just, they develop a relationship. I care about you, I'm your friend, and they develop that conversation. And sometimes that takes a matter of months to do, but I mean, we've all seen some horrible, horrible things come of that. And I think that we really have to be cognizant of that. And people who are talking, strangers who are talking to your children, there really is no purpose for a stranger to talk to your child. I mean, if it's not for, there's always a motive, whether it's to steal their identity, whether it's to get them into something that they really shouldn't be in. And I've actually had people say that a young man that I know, he was approached by a woman over a number of months, and she needed money at some point. And so it's not always a explicit type of thing, sometimes it's financial. I mean, there's no reason that your child should be talking to a stranger online. It's just that simple.
So, and I just want to mention too, as far as the school district, and I think these are all really important points. Some of the things that we do have in the school district, that we do have at advanced, if you're on the internet here in the district, we have advanced filtration systems. We have policies and procedures that are required by state law to protect, certain usage within the school. And I think those kind of precautions that we're taking, I know, people in the home have to take those same precautions with their families and protect their families. At the same token, social media can be a real positive if it's used for the right purpose. And there's a lot of positive, for public relations, for promoting the district, for promoting individuals. And so if it's used appropriately, but you've got to have safeguards and you have to have common sense. And I think today's day and age, it is tough because everything is recorded or is out there, and it can't go away, and it will be forwarded. And so I know that we're also talking about maybe having you present before the board at a meeting, and then we're going to look at maybe working with the police and or with some programs where we can bring some safety tips and some practical things into parents to help out. So
absolutely. David, you said that a lot of these students or the parents, sometimes they don't know that they're doing something wrong. And I think this is why this is important, is we have to make sure people are informed. So when we do these talk shows and talk about these issues, a lot of them are sometimes sensitive or uncomfortable to be talking about. Are we really talking about child pornography? These are issues that need to be addressed because they are issues that are affecting students in our own district and, nationwide, because a lot of times, something great, like you said, and we love social media, right? And we know our superintendent loves social media. We love taking selfies.
And I'm getting others
and all
hooked
of
on it,
that.
I think, right?
Yes.
Although you've been on it for a while.
But it's important for the parents and for the students to be informed and to be informed of potential consequences. There's one thing I really wanted to mention because it's very relevant to today. And I personally haven't downloaded it, but it's this Pokemon game, right? That everybody's talking about. And we have been hearing of cases to where somebody says, oh my God, I just found, I don't know the characters' names, but let's say Pokemon. He's behind this house. Do you want me to take you there? And these kids are going with strangers to find Pokemon.
Wow.
And, as parents, what we can do is, even some of these applications, is to make sure we know what's on our kids' phones. What are they doing? What kind of games are they playing? Because technically we can be here for days talking about different games that they're playing with people that they don't even know. But this is the type of stuff that's happening, and we have to be aware and we have to be informed.
And there are apps available that can control what your child's phone or internet device can access, and that's not policing your kids, that's really protecting your kids. It's important. I was reading over the weekend that most children first come across an explicit type of website between the age of 10 and 12, and it really floored me because it's something that I had never even thought of. And many times it's inadvertent, like they don't mean to, there are questionable links, they hit on it, they don't understand, and sometimes it is purposeful. And so it's important to have these conversations with our kids. And part of what I was reading is if you have conversations ahead of time, it's easier to deal with it later. But it's also important for parents, don't overreact. I think that our kids are in a very different world than we are. It's not like they're going, it's a new world. And we're all in this together, and it's important that us as parents, we don't overreact when we learn things, and we address it, and to have these conversations with our kids. And I think I know I can speak on behalf of the district, and I know you'll agree with me. If you come to the district, we'll help, and no one's going to get in trouble. All right, if your child sent something, or if someone sent something to your child, or if you learned something, no one's in trouble. It's a matter of educating and making people aware so that we can work together, because we're all a community. We're in this together. It takes a village to raise a child. So.
Well, and you came up with an idea which I think we're going to work on and maybe try to you mentioned about awareness, and I know Vice President Bazzi, you talked about maybe coming up with a pledge that we might do in Dearborn. So I think we're going to work on that. I think it's a great idea, and it would bring, the awareness that Trustee Hammoud was, you know, we could bring that out and really get it out there as a positive message to, you know, like you said, safeguard. It's protecting your children and, you know, our student, the student we're here for. We are here for the students, and, you know, our most precious commodities are their children in the community, and that's our future. So we want them to grow up and to be safe and to be, you know, contributed members of the community. So, you know, I think it's been a great message here today, David. And
absolutely. I mean, it is such a big, wide, encompassing topic because, you know, just in this short time here, we touched on probably 5 or 6 different things, and you have the whole aspect of children getting involved and predators from the outside and what we can do to prevent all of this and help all this. So it is a big, wide, encompassing topic that I think is a good idea that as the year goes on, we keep touching upon it and keep addressing it. And whether that be working with our 2 trustees who have some unique experience that they can bring to the table, and our local law enforcement, and bringing that message to our schools, to our parents, to the students in the schools. I think all of that will really be beneficial all the way around to everybody. So
absolutely.
We are always on board.
Well, great. That's great to hear. Thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
We appreciate that, for kicking off our new season and our new year.
You didn't ask us about any sports teams though yet, David. Where's the?
We'll wait.
Okay, all right.
Into that. We're still waiting. The Tigers are right now in this transition kind of thing. We don't know where they're going to end up.
All right.
So we'll wait till we get a little closer.
Sounds
to the
good to me.
playoffs. All right. Great. And for everyone out there who joined us and took time to click on YouTube, where we can be found also on our district channel, Channel 19 as well. We appreciate you stopping by and visiting with us for a little bit. And stay tuned all year long, because we come at you a couple times a month with these topics, and we bring you a wide variety of topics about things happening in the Dearborn Public Schools.